I think games can serve as really amazing mediums for storytelling. The fact that you can directly interact and control the characters in the story creates a powerful link between the protagonist and the player, and this helps form empathy between the player and the protagonist. Because unlike in a book or a film, you aren't just casually observing the protagonist, you're controlling them. Everything the character does is something you do, and every emotion they feel is one you feel far more deeply, because there's no disconnect between you and the character. A game which I think utilizes this empathy really well is Florence, a game about a girl named Florence, and how, after recently entering the workforce, she feels completely unfulfilled and like she's just stagnating in life. Her job is boring, her mom is strict and stress-inducing, and she doesn't really have any motivation in life. She's just floating by. This is until she meets Krish, a musician who is dealing with similar feelings of following his passions in life. They form a relationship and go on a wonderfully awkward first date, in which they slowly grow more comfortable around each other and form a real bond, a bond that grows naturally into love, culminating with Krish moving in with Florence. And for a moment, everything is wonderful for once. They're both so happy together, and she's able to wake up with excitement and power through her boring workday and her aggravating mom, just because in the evenings she'll be able to spend time with him. And he motivates her, and even encourages her to take up art, which has been a lifelong passion of hers, and Krish in turn is given the push he needs to enroll in music university. They both give each other the ability to move forward in their lives, and to strive for more. Then this is contrasted by a time skip to a year later, in which the love that initially drove them has dulled into the same fog of mundanity that both characters were engulfed with at the start of the game. And then you watch as the relationship that you nurtured, that you had become invested in, cracks and falls apart, with arguments rising up, and eventually with Krish moving out. And for a while it hurts for Florence to live without Krish. It's lonely and uncertain not to have him around, but at the end, and after some time has passed, Florence is ultimately able to escape from the monotony of the life that she was living. She manages to take her passion for art and spin it into a career, a successful career in which she's happy. And the game ends with her remembering Krish fondly, but having moved on to another stage of her life. There's so much to say about this game, but what I wanted to mention first is how incredible I think it is that the game is able to tell this nuanced, real-feeling story in only half an hour. It can create this incredible cocktail of emotions and leave the player with so much to think about and to consider, all in the same space of time as my lunch break at school. I think that's a real achievement on the part of the devs. There's no fluff to the game, no padding, nothing added in unnecessarily. The game knows exactly what it wants to say, and it manages to make me feel as many emotions as I did when playing much longer games. Now, I've never been in a relationship. I've never had a full-time job, and I've never yet really experienced the outside world all that much. So I can't relate to many things shown in Florence. But through the brilliant storytelling of the game, brought me right into Florence's experiences. I felt how drained she was at the start. I felt her happiness in meeting Krish and being with him. I felt the stress of each argument. And I felt the loneliness once he was gone. I think the game masterfully makes you feel empathy for these characters in the short time you know them. I mentioned how games can be used to make the experience of the story better. And I think that one of the best ways to do this is through reinforcing the emotions that the game conveys through the mechanics. And this is something that Florence excels at. Every little mechanic of the game is made with the intention of making you feel how the characters are feeling. An example being when Florence and Krish are talking as they get to know each other, and you have to piece together a sentence to speak. And as you gradually grow more comfortable with talking to each other, the amount of pieces that you need to piece together goes from 8 to 6 to 3 and then to 2. And that's a really clever way of showing the player how Florence is feeling, and how she's growing more and more able to speak and be more confident with Krish as she gets to know him. And the game takes these mechanics and builds on them throughout the game. When an argument later breaks out between the two, you're immediately thrown into that same minigame, except now you don't have the same laid-back ability to take your time in picking out the sentences, because Krish is yelling, he's shouting down. Everything he says, your character shrinks a little bit. He gets a bit bigger, and it really catches you off guard. You panic a bit and start haphazardly trying to toss out buttons just to get your voice telling you he was stressing you out and you want to regain a footing and get Florence back into a dominant position in the argument. That's what you're conditioned to do, because you know that if your character is getting smaller, that means you're losing. And if someone keeps shouting you down in an argument, that means you're losing too. At least that's what I felt playing the scene. And just like that, the game brought me into the mentality of someone in an actual argument. Once again, the game builds on this. When an argument breaks out again later in the game, after the relationship has deteriorated, I was more prepared this time. Even though I knew that arguing wouldn't solve any issues, I knew that it would just keep making things worse. I kept going for the sake of just so I could win. The game put me into the mindset of someone in an argument who just doesn't care about the long-term consequences. That's exactly how an arguing can feel. You just want to win, with no dialogue. In the span of a few seconds, the game tricked me into mirroring Florence's actions, and shows just how powerful the dev's use of game design is to bring you into the mechanics of the character of Florence. And these mechanics are present throughout the entire story, and they never feel for a second like they're unnecessary, or that they're only there for the sake of being there. Each minigame has a clear purpose to the story, and makes you feel the emotions of the characters in a way that only video games really can. Another thing the game did a fantastic job of is getting me invested in each character, with their struggles, as well as fleshing them out and making them feel real. We get an up-close interaction with their homes, we meet their families, we follow them through their daily routines. It all helps us feel that we know them, even though we've only been playing as them for a few minutes. It's a wonderfully simple, down-to-earth game, which realistically captures the stages that some relationships can go through, from how a partner can begin as the light of your life, and how they brighten every day, but then how, bit by bit, they just become ordinary fixtures of your life, and how eventually the two of you lose interest completely in each other, and become frustrated with each other, and lash out in a way that you never could have imagined you would just a few months ago. And again, I've never been in a relationship, but this made me feel all those feelings, compressed into the space of only half an hour. And when I saw how the relationship was deteriorating, I felt like how the characters did in the moment. It felt real, the disconnect, how the whole game loses its bright hue in favor of depressing grays. It left me feeling just as empty as the characters. The game forces you to move a clock forward in time, first showing the joyous couple before swapping it to the passionate people that later become. The game shows you how Florence is getting stressed out at work again, how Krish can't focus on his music. Later, after their big fight, when the game makes you put together jigsaw pieces of a picture of them in bed together, but the pieces won't fit, and no matter what you try and do, you can't get them to fit together. You can't get them to work together anymore. And then you have to reattach torn up pieces of another picture of them hugging. And you keep on trying. Pieces keep on drifting apart, and you can't really find where everything fits. And even when you do put everything together, the photo is wrong. Their eyes are wide and stressed out. They look so uncomfortable with each other. That moment kind of messed me up when I saw it. I just couldn't stop remembering those moments earlier when they were just lying in bed or hugging. How even those simple things couldn't be the same anymore. I think it's a good thing that you never see Krish again after he moves out. At first I was upset that we never got to know how he turned out. I wanted to see the two of them meet up again and make up, maybe even get back together. But I knew narratively that would defeat the game's purpose, but I didn't care. I just desperately wanted them to get back together. Then again, this is Florence's story, not his. And after the breakup of a relationship, you often never get to see that person again. The fact that he's completely cut out of the story is honestly more realistic, and does serve to leave a bittersweet taste in your mouth after the game. And yeah, even though Florence ends up with her happy ending, I still felt a bit empty. I was happy, sure, but I had grown so attached to the two characters that the ending felt a tiny bit hollow. I know I might be the only one who gets this pathetically attached to these characters and their fictional relationship, but it really resonated with me. And I really like how, even though their relationship didn't work out, Florence ultimately learns from her experience. Krish was what allowed her to discover painting again, meaning that the experience was still fundamental to shaping the next stage of her life. Even though not entirely sure that the ending of Florence achieving happiness by chasing her passions was best, as a lot of people don't really have the ability to do that, so the ending might not work for them very well, but even still. I think this game, and games like it, are really important for people to play, both people who know what the characters are going through and those who don't. For me, I feel like I have a better understanding of the feeling of loss after a relationship after playing this game. I feel like you can empathize better with people who've just experienced breakups, and I think this game actually helped me to get what they're going through just a bit better. And for people who are going through a relationship breakup, or are still torn up about it, this game can act as a catharsis for them. They can relate to Florence on a deeper level than I can, and it can remind them that there are brighter days ahead. This game can really help people, and it can change the way they see parts of the world. That's a bit dramatic, and maybe I'm overstating this, but I believe it really can. So if this sounds like something you'd be interested in, hypothetical person, why not play it?